Welcome everyone to Thursday. This is Alex Volkov alongside with Yam, Peleg, Nisten, Tahira, and Wolfram Ravenwolf. Welcome everyone to Thursday, May 8th. We have a few folks in Twitter space as well, and we have a bunch of folks tuning in from everywhere. How you doing, folks? How you doing?
Hey, man. Doing great. How are you all?
I'm doing good. Yam, we can finally hear you well, I think.
I hope so.
Yeah, coming through loud and clear. Podcast Mike, Nisten, how's the weather over there in Canada?
Good, great. I got a new day job, so I can't really tell the weather. But yeah, I haven't posted anything. I'll just say it's with LinkedIn people.
LinkedIn type people. We all know those people. And welcome everybody who tunes in from week to week. I already see a bunch of familiar faces starting to kind of come in as we start fairly bright and early for most of the world, maybe not for the European world. Great week of AI updates, though not as busy as last week for sure. So we may have a little bit of time to even just kind of talk and not rush, which is great. Let's see. I think we can. Yeah, we did not get O3 Pro today, but what I did get though, just before, and I think it's going on right now. We're not going to tune into this because that's less interesting to our crowd. Is a test Congress testimony from Sam Altman, Mike and Trader from CoreWeave, Lisa Su from AMD, and one dude from Microsoft that's really good at this. And now they're in front of the U.S. Congress. Testifying about how to make America not lose the AI war. We also have a few updates from last week. Specifically, Wolfram would love to chat with you about your evaluations of Qwen 3. We only got Qwen 3 kind of last week, and we chatted about this, but now we finally had a chance to play around and maybe eval as well. Otherwise, fairly crazy week. I would start before the TLDR that we usually do. I would just ask everybody who tunes in to give us a little bit like and a comment and tell us what was the most interesting thing in AI for you this week. I think that's been a great practice. We've seen folks post something and we're like, oh yeah, that's definitely interesting as well. So if you're listening on X, on YouTube, wherever you're listening, I know that many of you come to Thursday to get your news, but surely there was something in AI that you did or that you saw that was interesting to you. And this is also now a standard question to my co-host here. We'll go around and talk about what was the most highlight of the AI week as well. We'll start with Wolfram. You seem like you're...
I have a counter question. Are we sure that it's you or is it your avatar? Because that was so real, so good. And it probably was my highlight of the week as well. I had to test it immediately with Amy, and yeah, it's a step ahead. So really loving it, and I can imagine where we are heading in the future.
We'll definitely talk about this as well. I got a little bit of early access for just a little bit. And actually, I have a coupon code that they gave me to give to all of you for 3 months. So I'll share later in the show. But basically, I got access to Runway's new avatar thingies, and they look ridiculous. And you guys know the... sorry, HeyGen, not Runway. HeyGen, thank you. Let me start
Maybe they come next, who knows?
Yeah, Runway will do something for sure. So for folks who don't follow me as close, maybe haven't seen, there's a video that I posted that kind of looks like me unless you unmute, and then when you unmute, you hear me and kind of see. Basically, HeyGen, this company has been around for a while doing digital avatars. That was my highlight of the week, absolutely as well. I've been playing with this technology. I've been like fully blown away because we've been following some of these like AI avatar thingies for a while. We chatted with you guys about OmniHuman from ByteDance, which turned into a product in Dreamina in ByteDance as well, to fully take one picture and create like an AI avatar. We will show this. I'll add this to the Twitter space, but we will definitely show this and some more examples because that's just bonkers. Just absolutely bonkers. Not sure my mom will know that wasn't on me. That was my highlight as well. Yeah.
Was it Nisten generating the hands for you?
Yeah. Not only was it generating the hands, the one image that I gave it had hands like occluded a little bit underneath the screen. Like it had hands, but like there's no like fingers, whatever. Like all of the motions, it's just everything. It was kind of wild. Yeah, what was your highlight of AI this week?
Man, OpenAI buying Windsurf.
OpenAI buying Windsurf.
Man, that's huge.
Yeah.
Seriously, like even the the amount is huge, but like the entire thing, that's huge.
No,
seriously.
We'll definitely chat
and
about this as
also,
well.
Corsair, I think, got a valuation like something extreme. Like
$9
I don't know the number, but
$9 billion. $9 billion. You know, the thing that I saw that's interesting about this is that like somebody posted the famous image from The Big Short where Steve Carell yells into the phone, "It's a bubble," and then somebody wrote that like OpenAI bought Windsurf while also being invested in Cursor. Cursor's valuation is $9 billion. Both of them are forks of VS Code, which Microsoft also owns, and Microsoft also invested in OpenAI. So Microsoft invests in OpenAI invests in Cursor, and also buys Windsurf. That was really funny. But yeah, we should definitely talk.
It's interesting that they do that, because it also means they don't have coding agents that can reproduce something complex like that yet. Otherwise, why invest so much money if you can just build it your own?
We should definitely talk about this. I think community is a big part.
That's
it's the users. I mean, it's the users, and also I would like to point out, I'm not sure that everyone knows that Windsurf are the only ones that support JetBrains IDEs, and they are very, very popular in some big corporations and so on. But apparently only Windsurf support them. So I don't know if it is the the thing that made them decide to go for Windsurf, but probably they also consider it. So yeah, I think it's important. Alex, how is the MCP for Raycast? Let's speak about this.
We definitely should mention this at least as well. It was just like released an hour ago. Raycast, one of the most popular tools that I use on Mac, which is a launcher, and not only a launcher, it does like a bunch of stuff. If I start talking about Raycast, the whole show is going to be about Raycast. I love that thing. I can easily give 2 hours about how to improve your life with Raycast. If you guys not using Raycast, you should. And they just announced support for MCP, which is great. It's new. It's robust. I already tried it with the browsers thing. Why am I keeping blanking on the browser thing? But basically running a browser from Raycast, it's super cool. We'll definitely add some notes about this before this though. Nisten, we didn't get to your highlight of AI week.
Honestly, I thought it was going to be the new Gemini model, and I tried that one in Qwen because it wasn't available in Cursor. I wasn't that impressed, but again, I am not a fan of how Gemini does React apps in general. Just that Claude is way better for that, especially if I'm doing state management, and especially if I'm doing it how I want it, like without Next.js. The Sonnet just works a lot better. But my highlight was actually MLX Audio. I tried it; it just worked. Again, I had Claude generate the S1, S2 dialogue because I was too lazy. But you can basically just drop a paper. You can drop the command that they use. So they show the one command on the page. So MLX community on Hugging Face, and they have the DIA 1.6b, even in 4-bit. And then you can just drop that command into Claude, and then just drop a paper like any other paper in, and say, hey, generate this paper in this format. So it says S2, S1 as is 2 people. And it did it. And then I just dropped it into MLX, and it all just worked. So
MLX Audio is the platform, right? What voice did you use?
I don't know. I just used the default, whatever default command they had. I did not even try specifying the voices and stuff. It just worked. So this was the thing for me. Now it can end up using quite a lot more memory, and then you might have to like chop it up into smaller segments. There's always something, but it mostly it was basically plug and play. And so yeah, you can use also MX Audio with the Kokoro model that works on any device.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
That was a highlight.
Yeah. Shout out to Prince Kanuma for that.
Of course, we chatted with Prince Kanuma, the guy behind MX Audio, a while ago. So you guys are more than welcome to listen to this. We'll link in the show notes. And last but definitely not least, LDJ, welcome. We're just discussing about the highlights of our week, the one thing that stands out to you. We're also asking the community in the comments to tell us what they thought was the highlight of the week. We have some folks commenting, but LDJ, thanks for joining as well. What was the one thing that stood out to you from this AI week?
Yeah, I think Qwen 3 came out this week, right?
Nope, last week.
Okay, I guess something this week is there's an interesting paper, which, I don't know, maybe there's something more interesting I could think of, but something on top of my mind recently is this paper that showed, it's called an absolute zero RL, I believe. It's by Andrew Zhao, and they basically showed that with only able to basically do RL without any problems being inserted into the RL process, like the model creates all the problems on its own as well as the solutions, and so it makes it much more scalable.
Interesting. We'll definitely cover this. We have time. This week wasn't the craziest week. This thing happened as well. Thank you, Manuel. OpenAI legal structure. OpenAI announced that they're not going to be a for-profit company fully, and the non-profit structure will stay stick around. So that's definitely something that is coming. We should definitely talk about this, and we'll chat about. Folks are asking the name of the paper. We'll definitely add the name of the paper, and we'll chat about this down in the next segment of the show. Folks, I think it's time for TLDR. And then I think it's time for TLDR. What do you guys think? As always, we have the segment I call the TLDR, where we just run and very frantically, maybe less frantically today, because there's not tons of news to discuss. And then if you are interested in any part of it, you'll know that we're going to cover. If you're missing any part and you think that something is very important happened in the world of AI and we didn't cover in TLDR, this is your cue to tell us, so that we'll add and do the research and talk about this as well. All right, so let's start with TLDR. Let me just show my TLDR screen. All right, here's the TLDR. Everything we will cover outside of breaking news that will always happen on Thursday. Everything that we'll cover on Thursday for May 8th, 2025. We'll start with Wolfram's Qwen 3 eval. So Wolfram is our evaluator in chief, let's say, and then we also did chat about Qwen 3, but since then Qwen 3 started to be used, and there's a few updates in different things, and we would love to follow up from week to week and tell you guys what Qwen 3 and where it's at. Nvidia released Nemotron Ultra V1. We talked about Nvidia's Nemotron multiple times, but they also updated kind of the super and the nano models as well. But the Ultra model that's been coming for a while is now also released. We're going to chat about this. Nvidia Nemotron is famously a hybrid models that can reason, turn on and off, like Qwen as well. It looks like the industry is converging there. The folks from Cognition, or at least a few interns from Cognition. I'm not sure how many folks were involved in this effort. Cognition is the company behind the software engineer AI Devin that blew up recently. Released what they call Qwen. Qwen stands for kernel Devin, 32 billion parameter RL trained CUDA writing model. Very specific model with outperforming of the base models or standard models to write CUDA kernels. We're going to chat a little bit about this as well. Don't believe that there's anything else important in open source, but folks, if you have links in open source that we should cover, please let me know. We're going to move on to big companies and APIs, where I think the biggest kind of model news is that Google released another Gemini 2.5 Pro, and that Gemini 2.5 Pro they call I/O mode because Google I/O is in in a week and a half or so, which I'm going to be there and do some live coverage from Google I/O. So shout out to Google for inviting me. But there is the I/O version of 2.5, and that tops the previous Gemini 2.5 as the top LLM on LM Arena. LM Arena from recently is not the strongest signal we have, let's say. We have stronger signals, but there's other folks who claim that this is a very good coding model. There's a few other issues with this release, but otherwise they seem to be very, very happy with the performance of this model. It tops WebDev Arena and jumps over Claude 3.7 on WebDev Arena. Let's continue. Also, Mistral released Medium version 3, Mistral Medium version 3. And by release, I mean they announced it, and it's available in their LeChat platform and the enterprise platform. This was not released as open source, maybe at some point in the future. There's not a lot of details about this, but we'll definitely cover Mistral's release. Figma stepped in and said, hey, there's a lot of folks, Figma, the kind of the design tool, they had their conference, FigJam. No, Figma Config, sorry. FigJam is a product. They had a conference, FigJam, in San Francisco yesterday, I believe, and they announced Figma Make. They announced a bunch of stuff, not all of them AI related, so not very pertinent to the way that we discuss here, but they announced Figma Make, which is a direct kind of don't eat our lunch type product launch for companies like Bolt.new and Lovable and all of these like vibe codey thingies where you just like add a screenshot and it generates them for you. Figma said, we can do this. We have a bunch of developers, we have a bunch of designers that designed in Figma. Why do they have to go somewhere else? Let's just launch that. And those two companies, Bolt and Lovable, have been hugely increasing popularity, and just like a lot of people use them. So Figma is stepping in there. We should at least mention that you will now be able to do this within Figma. OpenAI restructuring, nonprofit keeps control and the LLC becomes a public benefit company. That's a fairly big news as well. We should mention what's going on there. It's been kind of on the radar since I want to say Elon Musk put them on blast about investing, and then the company becoming nonprofit, becoming a profit. Looks like that has changed, and we should definitely discuss what that means to the future. Talking about OpenAI also in the news, buying Windsurf at $3 billion. Windsurf is a code editor that is a clone of VS Code. We had Kevin from Windsurf on the show recently, and since then I've been using Windsurf, and by far, like, I really, really enjoy this. So OpenAI bought that, so now it's going to be Windsurf from OpenAI. And while this announcement happened, Cursor announced a valuation of $9 billion, which is insane for a company that's less than 2 years. It's unimaginable how quick they rose to the ranks. We should definitely mention and chat about this as well. And last but not least, Sam Altman, Lisa Su, Mike Intrader, and other folks from Microsoft testify right now live in Congress for how to make America lead in AI and what innovation means, and etc. There's like a bunch of conversations that are happening. I have a few comments about this. I'll mention a little bit. In this week's Buzz, I want to say that our hackathon that I was very, very, very proudly wanted to co-host, a hackathon that we're supposed to co-host in a couple of weeks, has moved to July. So if you're planning to come to our hackathon, it's moved to July because of some reasons, let's say, but the show that we have fully connected is coming in June for the whole 2-day conference for Words and Biases is in San Francisco, June 18-19, and I, as promised, have a promo code for you, WB thursdai, without the D here. This is the promo code. If you want to come, we will gladly have you there. It's a great conference.
By the way, I read that as Cursor 9B model and OpenAI 3B because my mind was somewhere else entirely.
Yeah, those are. I need to add the $sign. Those are like $1 billion.
Those are dollars, not parameters.
Not
all
parameters.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Cursor 3.
And we're cooked. We're cooked. We're cooked.
We are so cooked.
So that's what happens this week's Buzz. This week's Buzz. Also, there's a small, tiny announcement. CoreWeave has completed the acquisition of Weights and Biases, folks. So from now on is Alex Volkov, AI Avengers at Weights and Biases from CoreWeave. I will say the opinions are my own here on the show. The opinions that we give, that I give, are my own and not CoreWeave's. It's very important because it's a public company.
Alex, you mean that you got some GPUs now, like a lot?
Opinions, my own. That's
what I'm saying. I'm saying you got some GPUs. You got some
CoreWeave is absolutely a company that provides GPU to many companies, and expect there to be more on this topic when I get into the company and are able to to see where those like GPUs that are lying around and what can we do with them. Expect there to be more, but for now, I just the announcement that the acquisition was completed.
I don't roast the GPU providers that much because I actually need them. Well, with the exception of AWS, but everybody else is cool.
Yeah. Vision and video, this has been heating up, and there's also, I think, yeah, this goes here. Vision and video, of course, the thing that Wolfram mentioned, I will chat with you. HeyGen released Avatar 4, and that thing is ridiculous with one image. Maybe we'll do something on the show. We'll have some time to just do it live. I also have a code for you here. So like if you guys sit and stick around in the show, I have a 1 month free in HeyGen for all of you that the folks in HeyGen provided, because it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. It looks so real. Especially I think the alpha right now is attaching this HeyGen avatar thing with Julio audio, which is now the top audio kind of generation. Just together, it looks awesome. But also in open source, Lightrix, the company from Jerusalem, released a new open weights LTX-V model. We talked about LTX-V a little bit before. It was a smaller model. This one is 13 billion parameter, and it is fully open, and you can run a bunch of stuff on your computer, like a bunch of videos. And I think the news that nobody knows about yet, because it didn't really happen yet, is Hunyuan Custom. You guys remember HY Video? We talked about Hunyuan Video a bunch of times. They are now about to release today. They haven't yet, but there's not speculation. They sent me a link. They actually took down the Hugging Face on GitHub since then, but the project page is up. They've released Hunyuan Custom.
The models are no longer on Hugging Face?
No, it's a new model that they are about to upload.
Okay.
Because Custom.
The IV, the text to video one, is still very good. I know they also have the Pro, which you can.
Nisten, I want to update about the new thing. Wait, hold up. The custom one is a multimodal driven customized video generation. You can provide subjects and it will generate those subjects. It's awesome. So where like Nisten, the one you're talking about is I2V, is like image to video. You upload an image and that serves as the first frame, and since then the model just like goes haywire. This one is a customization model that allows to upload not only an image but also video. So you can customize video, and also Wolfram, I think you'd love this, audio. You can like provide audio to this model, and then like whatever, if you add like singing, it's kind of gonna do whatever the avatar does as well. I think they're like about to release all of this and just change absolutely
cool.
like the scene. It should be super cool, but they're about to announce this tonight at 9 p.m. So we have a little bit of a breaking news for you here. Voice and audio, I want to highlight this thing. We haven't had a good audio model in a while. We know Suno, we know Udio, and they basically got to, at least as far as I'm concerned, that whole field of music generation got saturated super quick. Like we got very, very excited by the time, and now it got to a point where like it generates realistic music and we don't care anymore. Like I haven't had excitement about music generation in AI since, Suno and Udio both released like features. And now there's an open one from StepFun. It's called AceStep, a 3.5 billion parameter, fully open source foundation model for music generation. It sounds pretty cool. It's, not quite where Suno V4 and Udio is, but it's definitely cool because it's open source. So we're gonna maybe generate some music here down the line. And also a huge one, I think, is Nvidia released Parakeet, which is a transcription model. It's a 600 million parameter 0.6b, transcribes 60 minutes of audio in just 1 second. and it now is on the top of the Open ASR leaderboard on Hugging Face. So this is like a Whisper competitor, basically, or beats Whisper completely, only in English as well. It's super fast. It's ridiculously fast, and it's really, really good. It's not the best yet, and also not multilingual, but definitely shout out to Nvidia for releasing this like top of the leaderboard model to transcribe. And it's, yeah, the speed there is insane. So I think that this is everything that I had, folks. Anything that I missed that we should mention? And if not, we can get started with open source. Looks like open source is it, Nisten?
Yeah. I think Arc is about to announce an any MCP service, but it's coming soon, and we don't have any details. But that's about it, I think.
Yep.
There are some from Anthropic released Cloud Code, added web surfing to Cloud Code. Also, I'm not sure that we talked about it last week, but Anthropic now allows you to have Cloud Code, to use Cloud Code over your Max subscription. So if you're subscribed to Cloud Max, you get Cloud Code. And I did the math because it's really hard to compare like this versus just paying for the tokens, because one of them is measured by session and messages, and one of them is by tokens. Yep. So I did a little bit of estimation. I did the math and posted it on X if anyone want to know. No, seriously, like, because there are limits at the end. You don't get Cloud Code unlimited, because then you would just stream tokens unlimited. But so there are limits. So if you want to talk about this, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, let's add this as well.
I have a huge list, but, I'm not sure what we talked about, what we didn't. But yeah, let's just start. And
I want to know more from you later, because I am debating this switching from either Cursor to Cloud Code and stuff, just because of how much I'm using on Sonnet Max. So we can go, if we can go.
Man, I can talk for hours about Cloud Code. You don't. I think I have.
But I do want to know something. Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna add this to the tool section, and hopefully we'll get there. Talk about this and talk about MCP a little bit. All right, folks, it's time for us to start with our favorite corner, open source AI. Open source AI, let's get it started. Let's get it started, folks, with open source AI. And first on our docket is an update about Qwen 3, a series of models from Alibaba Qwen that was released last week. I believe they released 2 MOE models and then a few dense models as well, and we chatted about all of this. And if you want to hear a full live reaction from last week, definitely tune into last week's show. And since then, we've been able to play around with this a little bit, and some of us have been able to evaluate them a little bit as well. And we have Wolfram, our let's say evaluator, AI evaluator at Elemind as well, but also our head of evaluations. Would love, Wolfram, for you to take over and tell us what you found with these models.
Yeah, you can bring up the graph I posted.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's okay. And what I always do when a new model comes out and it is in any way interesting, I want to run a benchmark to see how it does. And with Qwen 3, we expected a lot because they released a whole model family. Like you said, there were a lot of models. I tested 7 of them, so the different variations. But we have from the small one, the 0.6 billion parameter model, up to the large one, the 235 billion parameter model with 22 billion active parameters. So I tested all of them. And when it's possible, I test them with the hardware I have, because I don't care about some theoretical benchmark results. I want to know, how does the model do on my system? And in this case, my system is a MacBook Pro M4 with 48 gigabyte unified RAM. Mm-hmm. And of course, that is about only 28 gigabyte free, because there's a lot of software running on it. It's my work system, so I was doing the benchmarks in the background. And all in all, the runtime was 58 hours for all benchmarks combined. And that is just the ones I posted, because I did some more that failed or that weren't with the right settings. So I excluded those. So it was a lot of, whenever my computer was running, it was running some benchmarks in the background. But I made sure that it is not so used up that it would be too slow. And the biggest one I can run locally, the 235B, I ran that with the Fireworks API. And interesting is how good it was. It did so good in the benchmark. So I was doing, you can't just take one run usually, because yeah, there are still some fluctuations in the benchmarks, even if you are using temperature 0, which I was not doing for Qwen, because they recommend to use a different setting. Otherwise it repeats, because it's a reasoning model.
Yeah.
So it generates a lot of tokens. I had some benchmark runs where it generated almost 1 million tokens, 600 to 800,000 tokens, because it's reasoning also much, but the reasoning is really good. I also tested without, but let's talk about the big one first. When we look at this chart, we see that the Fireworks version, the best score it got was the same I got with O3 Mini. In O3 Mini's case, when there is a little dot at the top of the bar, it was just one run, because online APIs are pretty expensive. Yeah. And I'm not sponsored, so I pay with my own money, unless somebody gives me an API key or something, which has happened in the past. But these runs, I did them myself. And if you run O3, you pay about 50, 60 bucks or something, because that takes a lot. Yeah. Or GPT 4.5 preview, for example. Anyway, so if it's just a dot, it was one run. Otherwise, it was 2 to 4 runs. That is the usual. I usually try three, but due to time constraints, I only did 2 runs with Qwen. So in that case, we see the top score was 84.39%, and that was the same top score as O3 Mini's one run. And the worst score was 82.93%, which was the same score we get with the Claude 3.7 Sonnet one. So it is right in the middle there. And that is
only
amazing
22
score.
billion active parameters, because it's an MOE. That's incredible. And this is MMLU Pro computer science STEM stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's questions that are actually a part of my work. So a model that is good in that and can answer those, that makes it very useful for me. Of course, a coding benchmark would check other things. And as always, you need to evaluate your models on your own use cases. You and I, we always tell people evaluations matter, and you have to evaluate on what you are actually using. Yep. I like MMLU Pro because big model companies also often release benchmark numbers for that. So you can see how does your local model compare to the numbers they released. And it's a public benchmark, so others can run it as well, and you can compare with them. And yeah, I think it is a good way to do it, because it's easy to run, and everybody can do it. So you can check the scores. You don't have to trust me. Although I did publish every result in a GitHub repo. We can put it in the show notes, where anyone can look into it. And you can also get the outputs, like for GPT 4.5 preview or 3. Everything is locked, and everything can be checked there.
How's the speed on Fireworks compared to like O3 Mini?
It was very interesting. Oh, O3 Mini. Oh, I would have to look that up. I don't have things, but it's in the report, so we can check that. Yeah. But it was interesting that the score, the performance on the API from Fireworks, the local MLX version batted. So the MLX was 64 tokens per second, and Fireworks was 55 tokens per second.
Wow!
Which is interesting that my local model was running faster.
Your local smaller model, right?
Like it was smaller, yeah. Of course, it was smaller. But from the benchmark numbers, it is very, very close to that, actually. So you can really run Zota AI locally now.
So this one is the one you're talking about. Qwen 3, 32 billion parameters.
And the other one, the 30 billion active 3B parameters.
Oh, yeah, this one.
This one, yeah.
Unsloth version.
Yeah. That was an Unsloth version. They have an Unsloth dynamic Qwen, they call it, and it was really good. But with the number of samples I have, of course, we can't say in general that it is always better. So I wouldn't make that statement, but it is very close to the 32B. But the 32B was so slow that I could only do one run, because it was running for many, many hours. I don't know exactly if it was 10 hours, 20 hours. It was really slow on my system here, of course.
Yeah.
So the MLX, if you have an Apple system, use the MLX. It is a little worse. So it was 4 to 6 questions less that it got correct. So in that case, that is why the MLX version is a bit on the a bit lower here. And both runs were exactly the same. And I would still use it because it is just so fast. That is a big part of running AI locally. If you have to wait for a long time, and it's a reasoning model, which means it generates a lot of tokens. So speed is very important. And interestingly, the Qwen 32B, which is smarter actually, it has a better score, a little better, but it generated much less tokens to get to the right answers, whereas the smaller models generate more tokens, but they can compensate for their lack of intelligence by thinking for longer, and they arrive at the same conclusion. That is why the scores are so similar.
Thinking for longer and probably also using tools. I don't think that you've measured this in this measurement, but remember last week we talked about the depth versus breadth of models, and like these models are like potentially shallower, but they can use tools. And
that works great, by the way. I've used both of them a lot. The big MOE and the small MOE. I also tried the 32B a bit. I do notice quite a difference if it's writing like emails or if it's writing tutorials or something. The small MOE is not as good at that. And if you want code and something, it's not going to really make a difference. But if it comes to something that it's a bit more creative writing, I think you either want the dense model or you want the big MOE for that. But if it's got to do like a bunch of math and tool calling, you just ask /no think, and it'll call like 10, 15 tools, no problem, even on the small one. So yeah, I use it a lot with Open Web UI. I think that's probably like the best. That's like the best run you can do right now for local inference.
So Wolfram, would you agree to this? Is the 30 billion parameter the best model local inference we can recommend to folks?
Great points that Nisten made, because I noticed the same about creative writing Nisten mentioned, because Qwen is great for agentic use, I think, and anything that is neutral, maybe coding, I can't test that, I am not a coder per se, but for creative writing, especially in German, I test the models in German as well additionally, and my vibe check says you probably want to use Mistral or Gemma. Continue to use those for creative writing, because I found them writing much better in that way. Probably not as much training data there in Qwen, but for agentic use, it is probably the best you can run locally. Do you agree, Nisten?
Yeah, I still use. I find by far the best one, like out of all of them for creative writing, weirdly enough, just DeepSeek R1 with the jailbreak prompt. That will, with thinking on and everything, that still does one of the best. The other one that does very well is QEQ. It's still QEQ 32B. It's actually pretty good creative writing, and I do agree. One of the best ones before used to be Mistral 123B, and I think that still stands. Even people that were making agentic models for Twitter just to reply to people, a lot of them were just still using Llama 405B, and that's just because that's what passed their vibe check. They only needed to write small segments, and I think a denser model just seems better at creative writing. So it probably has to do something with there's probably a paper or two to be written there with like what's going on with the KQV weights and how wide it is and stuff. But
every time I mention creative writing, I just want to add EQ Bench from Sam Peach is measuring creative writing. There's a creative writing.
Oh, there we go. Oh, we forgot Sam's. He has a whole bench on this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then DeepSeek R1, like Nisten said, is definitely up there. I don't believe he tested Qwen yet, but QEQ.
What do you think about GPT 4.5 for this, Nisten?
Oh, that's not even on the list. I still thought that was the best one. I think it's just too. Oh, I still thought that was the best one as far as I tried it.
Yeah.
But if you don't want any like restrictions on what it's writing, and then you're kind of out of luck there.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to Qwen, folks, because we're gonna move on to creative writing, but we should definitely discuss this.
And Nisten also said about.
Go ahead.
About the no thinking. That is also interesting because I did a benchmark with the no thinking, and it was a difference. Unfortunately, I didn't post it because I didn't use the recommended settings, because they have recommended settings for no thinking, which are a bit different. So you use temperature for no thinking, you use temperature 0.7 instead of 0.6 and top P 0.8 instead of 0.95. So it's a little different than I didn't want to post it and maybe confuse people.
But
That's
how much did it get? Was it close or?
It was 17 questions it didn't get in
At
2
all?
runs. It was the MLX always got the same scores in both runs. I think it's not as optimized for non-determinism like the others. Probably something, for some reason, it really got exactly the same scores in 4 runs. And no thinking were 17 questions less, so it was a score of 75.37%. Compared to the 79.51% the MLX. It was the MLX which I used.
That's pretty close. So that's even with the wrong settings, that was only 4 or 5% worse.
Yeah, and there's so much we can test here because they have the 128K yarn extended version. I was only using 32K token context limit, or 40,000 something. Which the model was native.
That version was giving me issues, by the way. I don't know how the yarn is being set up, but that one I tried with the big MOE, small MOE 32B. They all had the issues with repeating at the 128K. So I think you have to only use that if your prompt is bigger. If your prompt is smaller than 32K, it actually makes the model worse. But anyway, that needs to be quantified because we don't have actual data on it. That's just that was just a vibe check.
But that fits my experience as well. That you don't want to extend the context if you don't have to.
Yeah.
I wonder why we don't have any dynamic context extensions yet. Something like that would be very interesting. Okay, final thoughts. I had something else to mention here. The MMLX and no thinking. You had some other point that was interesting. Issues. LM Studio had issues with Qwen 3's advanced Ginger prompt template, and they fixed it in an update. So if anybody has used the older versions, it is important to update, as always. Keep your software up to date. And you should also check if the model has been updated, because sometimes you get updates, and that is a bit... If a model comes out fresh, it often gets some fixes later. And so keep your models updated as well. If you have bad experiences, always check if the model has changed. Maybe check the checksum so you don't have to download it unless it changed.
Yeah, so I had the same issue, and then Yegil from LM Studio told me that I had an old preset here, and presets is kind of the chat preset of how these models are running inference. And if you have a wrong one, you may completely get unsensical kind of responses from the model. So I was told to just hit this X thingy and just go and create a different preset, discard and saved, and then the default preset would work after kind of the LM Studio updated. So yeah, definitely agree with Wolfram. Keep your models updated, and sometimes the model cards also update. So the model releases, we saw was the same with Llama multiple times. Make sure that you have your models up to date before you test.
By the way, that's what I love about Qwen, that they provide the optimal settings. That is not something everybody does, and it's very disappointing when I hear people use some defaults of the inference engine which are not optimized, and then they complain about the model. So make sure you check if there are recommended settings, and to the model makers, please always provide the recommended settings, because you invest so much money and time in creating a model, and if it is not getting the recognition it deserves because people are running it with suboptimal settings, that is a very pity.
I agree. Pity. Wolfram, so the summary is Qwen 3 is by far the best open source models that we have.
It's leading now, and I want OpenAI to follow and hopefully exceed, because we want the competition, we want to push AI forward, but they have shown how to do it, and it's a pity that Llama has done it. I wrote, if you have used the Winamp player once, it really whipped the Llama's ass. So,
yeah, I saw this.
Unfortunately,
I love that.
Llama or Meta has dropped the ball here, but Qwen has taken up the torch and is running with it, and let's see where we go, because DeepSeek R2 and what OpenAI will provide, I think we are in for a great time, local model time.
So I think it's time to kind of use this and move on to our next topic of conversation. Nvidia's Nemotron Ultra was released, and I want to chat about the Nvidia Nemotron a little bit. It's very interesting. When they released this, they posted April 25. So Nvidia released Nemotron a while ago. Nemotron, as a reminder, are pruned and distilled versions of Llama 3.1, and then they also, I believe, post-trained. And they also released the post-training dataset for these models from Nvidia. But those are significantly smaller because they do pruning and also distillation of kind of like the bigger models. Pruning reduces the size, distillation learns from the bigger models, and effectively they end up with models that are better performing than the kind of the base models. And when they released this, they conveniently did not mention Qwen in the release as well, and said, as of April 2025, our flagship model LN Ultra is the most intelligent open model according to artificial analysis. And then they posted, as you guys know, we also cite artificial analysis multiple times. They do a great independent testing. They are not like the arena, where arena is like people who vote, and then the arena has like different scores. Artificial analysis has their own evals, and they have a bunch of benchmarks. And artificial analysis screenshot that the Nvidia folks released from April does not include Qwen 3, the top Qwen 3, and it does include Nemotron. And Nemotron stands here between Gemini 2.5 Flash and O3 Mini High at around 61% intelligent index, and this includes MMLU Pro, which Wolfram just covered in his benchmarks, GPA QA Diamond, which we talked about, Google Proof PhD level questions, Humanity's Last Exam, which is a very funny benchmark because that also gets very much obfuscated at this point. It's definitely going to be Last Exam, Life Code Bench, which we also like and trust, and then AME and Math 500. So they have a blend, and based on this, artificial analysis has like a intelligence index, and based on that one, Nemotron Ultra 253 billion parameters reasoning. It's a dense model, so it's a distillation pruning of 405B of Llama, and that one lands here at like place number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the only one that's open weighted. They haven't tested Qwen, I believe, on the same exact framework, and this is why they mentioned this April 2025. What else is interesting about Nemotron? We've chatted about a bunch about Nemotron before, so like the same things are applied. It's just the bigger model that we've been waiting for. Reasoning toggle. You can say detailed thinking on and off system prompt in inference. As kind of, they were one of the first to release this, and obviously Qwen is also supporting this. Qwen is also supporting this in the middle of the conversation. You can turn off and on this thinking as a user as well. That's super cool. 128K context. Ultra fits on a single 8 times H100's node after the multiple things. So it's a big model, but it fits on like a 1/8 times H100 node, and it beats Llama 405B, the one that it was distilled from. Anything else, folks, we should talk about here in NVIDIA Nemotron? Nisten, we chatted about Nemotron before. LDJ would love to hear from you if you have any thoughts about distillation pruning as well, techniques, but it's really interesting that this model is like half the size of 405B and performs significantly better.
Yeah, there's some interesting work there that DesiLM does on the Nemotron models, but you have to find it. Like they did make that new pruning technique, which didn't just prune the layers; it actually pruned the shapes of the models itself. So there is more work to be done in that field as to how you do that, and that it all just kind of started recently with the bigger labs, like Google doing quantization-aware training, but I think there's also pruning-aware training, which they're probably doing on all the labs and just not saying. Yeah, I'm glad and NVIDIA posts all the data sets and stuff for it, because we can complain about the models as much, but it really doesn't matter in the end.
Yeah, the dataset was released as well on Hugging Face with Nemotron NVIDIA. A dataset is post-training dataset consistent of, I think, $11,000. It's a It's millions. Right?
Oh wait, I just
3.9 million rows on the dataset.
I just realized me and Austin did this last year when we made the Loboto Llama 368B. We did a prune, but that one did not perform that great.
And this model is based on Llama 3.1, as we said. Latency is much faster, obviously, versus this model. They also open source the whole training stack, Nemo and Nemo Liner and Megatron LM, and also the dataset. So shout out to folks on this amazing effort. I would love to see kind of Qwen here as well to just see and compare, right? It doesn't seem like the folks are including Qwen. Speaking of folks not including Qwen, we're going to talk about Mistral in a second. But I would love to see like Qwen models as well compared here, because this is still a huge dense model, 253 billion parameter, not something that's going to run on any Macs. And you know, we can maybe get to the same level of intelligence already with models that run fully locally. So moving on, but definitely shout out to the Nvidia folks for releasing and following up with these great models. Nemotron Ultra V1, if you want to run this, the license.
Just want to say, I just want to say they did some really cool stuff developing this. Like they found the architecture with architecture search. I'm just reading about it now, and like the way they reduce the amount of parameters is pretty cool. Like it basically means that you run you know, a bunch of different variations of the model, and you try to hill climb, like search what is best, what's the best architecture that you can build. Like because you have a model that is already trained, it's already got its parameters, and you want to make it smaller. So you need to change it somehow. And now there's a question: how do you change it in the most optimal way? How do you reduce the amount of parameters? Like, what do you remove? What do you don't? How do you structure it a little bit different that you get a smaller model and not destroy the already the effort that was already put into the model before? So what they did is automatic. Is architecture search, neural architecture search based, and it did some really cool stuff. Seriously, so I'm not going to go into the details, but I'm reading it now, and it's really cool. So yeah, you know, shout out to Nvidia, and Nemotron are really good models. Always has been, like the whole series.
And very interesting that they choose Llama for kind of the basis for this, and not like DeepSeek, or let's say, I think maybe it's because some.
It's because it's dense, so it's a lot. It was way trickier to do this stuff with MOEs. Yeah.
Interesting. All right, folks, we're moving on to Cognition's Qwen 32 billion parameter. Folks from Cognition Labs, the folks who are building Devin, released an RL for writing CUDA kernels. RL model, obviously a reinforcement learning model. It's a 32 billion parameter fine-tune of WQ32B. With GRPO. GRPO, Group Relative Policy Optimization, is kind of the algorithmic breakthrough that DeepSeek has given us, and everybody since then is talking about GRPO and using GRPO for different reinforcement learning optimization things, they did iterative feedback loops, which means that because the kernel stuff, the kernel code is very easily verifiable whether or not it runs or compiles or not, the iterative feedback loops means that they can do something, try it out and see if it works, and kind of reinforce based on this, and then speed tune CUDA kernels. Trained on 188 kernel bench tasks, solves 89% of the dataset, overtakes 04 and 03. 04 mini and 03 on correctness and speed. Again, this model that was trained from WQ32B, so it's a fine tune, solves 89% of the kernel bench tasks and overtakes 04 mini and 03, one of the two of the best reasoning models in the world right now, with just 32 billion parameters on this specific task, which I find very interesting. First of all, a few things here. First of all, it looks like there's some tasks here that chain of thought built into the model helps significantly with. We talked about yesterday. We talked about last week where OpenAI kind of like had their open source consortium, and many folks, including folks from the thursdai community, Mazia Panay and Prince Kanu, and like other folks were on there. The open source developers or open source fine tuners don't necessarily want reasoning for multiple reasons. They want to be able to apply this when needed as essentially almost as a tool to turn on and off. But for some tasks, chain of thought is absolutely like very important. And for this task of training CUDA kernels, it looks also is very important. Everything is open weighted on Hugging Face under Nvidia style license from the folks at Devon. Anything else we want to say about this? I just want to hear about
that's a really interesting thing, because like there is like, you think about it, maybe I can, if you think about the question, maybe I can train a smaller model to be a really good coding model for my own use cases. I don't know, I work with a specific thing. And it is a question, like you think to yourself, wait, is that a huge model trained on the entirety of GitHub will just be better on my own small task? Or maybe I can, directly train the model on my own coding model. And we know that apart from coding, like, writing and style and so on, we know that it works well, but coding is a little bit different. Like you're not guaranteed that it's going to work. So it's really cool to see that it does. Moreover, the thing about CUDA kernels and so on, there are many different ways to write the same kernel, and you want, because it's like a hardware thing, you want it to be as fast as possible, because any tiny percentage you can save there translate to something like flash attention at the end, which is like a huge time and money saver in the long run. So if you have something that can optimize CUDA kernels better than people, even if it's slightly better than people, if you find it even at random, like you randomly generate with like high temperature softmax and you get a correct CUDA kernel that is faster, it's worth so much money. It's worth a lot. And it's also a really hard problem. There is a reason these people are rare. The people that know how to do it, they are rare, because you need so many different skills at the same time to be good at this. Also, a low-level programming hardware and like to understand how the model works and so on. There's so many different things in order for you to be good at this. So anyway, really interesting. Seriously, really interesting research, and there is a lot of potential training smaller models on different to be focused on different things, and it's really cool to see. Seriously.
Speaking of training smaller models, I think we've been very bullish on fine-tuning here for a long while. Like we saw these open source models released, and then maybe some of them released the base model, not the instruct version. And many people from our community did kind of like the fine-tuning. LDJ, you did the capybara data sets. Like many people collected data sets and then combined data sets and then did merging. Like we've been following this like very closely. I personally felt like a lull after many of these like foundational models were starting open source, starting to release instruct models. That was like really hard to even get to fine-tune a little bit better than the instruct models. Famously, Llama 3.1 instruct was really good. It was very difficult to fine-tune above, and people did like mixes and merge kits, etc. It seems like RL and GPRO is now bringing back fine-tuning a little bit. Like I noticed that like many folks are fine-tuning with reinforcement learning fine-tuning, and that seems to be a little bit back. Also to kind of highlight this, we didn't report on this last week, but News Research, our friends of the pod, released reinforcement learning environments framework they call Atropos, which you can like use in order to do basically similar things that we just talked about in the folks in Qwen did. There's like a reinforcement learning training as well. Reminder, you can do this for the reasoning models in OpenAI as well. They have like RL fine-tuning built into their system. But if you want to do it open source, you may need something like reinforcement learning like environments framework like Atropos from News as well. So shout out to folks at News. I wanted to mention this as well. They have a hackathon kind of the same time that our hackathon was supposed to be. So if you're coming to San Francisco, you're coming to us. I'll add the link to their hackathon together with Cerebral Valley, also friends of the pod, in San Francisco, to do reinforcement learning, and you would use weights and biases there. So everybody wins. So yeah, definitely. Do you guys feel the same, that kind of the RL brought back fine tuning a little bit?
Look, the thing is that PPO was incredibly powerful. Is already incredibly powerful, and there is no denying of this. But the thing is that you need so much memory. It's very hard. You need infrastructure to do it, because you need to hold the same model 4 different times in memory in order to perform the full PPO. And GRPO reduced that. Like, it eliminates the value function. So basically, it makes the not exactly the same thing, but pretty close to the same performance, but way cheaper and more efficient to run. So people like ourselves, GPU poors, can start to do RL at scale, which we couldn't.
Speak for
before.
yourself. Speak for yourself.
Oh, yes, somebody here got a lot of GPUs now, but but yeah, I'm just saying that it made it more accessible. So this is why you see like an explosion of people using GRPO, because all of a sudden it's possible to do it at scale with on a budget. So absolutely, yeah.
I think now is a good time. Also, we're coming to the end of the open source discussion here, around the hour that we're here in. LJ, you wanted to mention this absolute zero model, also related to like reinforcement learning to some extent. Would love to hear about this a little bit, because I think it's very interesting and related to what we're talking about. LJ, I saw you have some back and forth issues connecting. You're still on mute. Let me know if you can unmute, and if not, we can skip this.
Oh, yep,
I would just say that. Yeah, go ahead.
So I haven't like looked into the paper very deeply, but yeah, it looks very interesting. From what I read, it's Andrew Zhao is the lead author there, and they've basically have this RLVR. It's this that's coined by Nathan Lambert for this reinforcement learning process, where traditionally you'd have to have a data set of a bunch of problems, of course, that the model does then RL to try and get the correct answer for that problem that you have. But here, what they have is the model itself is actually creating the problems from scratch as it goes, and they have it tailored for 2 specific domains here, where even these domains are pretty general. They have at least math and coding I saw in the paper. And, I think we've heard of RL in the past, probably. Like a lot of people have probably heard of RL on like Pac-Man or very specific video games or things like very niche like that. So it's especially impressive to me that they're able to do this on something kind of more general like coding.
I want to just like highlight this one paragraph out of this. Under this paradigm, we introduce Absolute Zero Reasoner, a system that self-evolves its training curriculum and reasoning ability by using code executor to both validate proposed code reasoning tasks and verify answers, serving as a unified source of verifiable reward for grounded learning. Open-ended yet grounded learning. This is crazy to me. This is like literally this paragraph.
Look,
reads crazy. Like this is AI that teaches itself to learn.
Look, there is a long history for this. When DeepMind started with the AlphaGo, first it was first bootstrapped by training on many human curated games of Go before they actually started the RL training of AlphaGo. Then AlphaZero, where they started without the bootstrapping on imitation of humans, just by playing the game with itself, like understanding what is going on and how to play the game, how to get the rewards. So then the improvements to these became later of Mu0 and so on and so forth. And what we see here is basically the same improvement, but applied to language, because coding environment is something that you can unopinionately check. Like you can just run the code and check if it works.
Yep.
Then you have some grounding in the real world. So basically, even if you don't know anything about code, nothing at all, you never did like an imitation learning to understand how to write good code, you can just try to do a bunch of random code, random stuff, and if it works, then do more of the same. And that's basically how what they demonstrate in this paper. Of course, it's a little bit more complex than I'm saying, but what they demonstrate in the paper is that you don't need any external data to do this. You can just, bootstrap the model against just a coding environment, and over time, without anything else, it bootstrapped and learned to self-learn to code. So you can do I just want to say, yeah, it's crazy, absolutely. But there is something about here. There is a signal coming from the actual code base. So you need something that you can actually measure, like, the ground truth of like a code, if the code works or not. This is why you are able to do this. But yeah, I mean, it is crazy that it works. Like, it's really, really hard to do that. If you think about it, the model is pretty random at the beginning. How do you even bootstrap the entire thing? Like, it's very hard. So really cool to see. Seriously.
So I'll just LDJ, thank you for bringing this to our attention. Yeah, thank you for breaking down. I'll just highlight I'm reading the paper through as we speak. Absolute Zero doesn't need curated data. That's what they mean. They don't need curated data, and they are basically fine tunes of Qwen. Qwen Coder 2.5 and other Qwen, and they show here that other fine tunes of Qwen, Qwen 2.57b, that they are getting state-of-the-art results, almost state-of-the-art results. Like, look, there's one HEval diminishing, but on MBBP and different things, AIME as well, Math Olympiad in 24 and 25. They're getting significantly better results with no data. The model hallucinates the questions and kind of creates their own rewards, learns, and then this is crazy to me. This is we talked about synthetic data, but synthetic data is still curated to some extent. Right? Like folks are in charge of creating the synthetic data. The fact that the fact that the model can create its own data, learn based on it, and improve is very, very interesting and crazy.
Isn't that something that OpenAI actively discourages? So they have these evaluations where they test the model for harmfulness, and self-improvement is something they don't want from a model, right? These categories, remember?
I think that self-improvement was taken away from the preparedness framework. I may be wrong, but you're talking about the preparedness framework from OpenAI, right?
Exactly,
the one that let's see, OpenAI preparedness framework. So yeah, OpenAI, just for folks who are listening, OpenAI has this preparedness framework, and then they just recently, April 15th, a couple of weeks ago, updated, and I believe that self-improvement was one of them, and then since then they removed it. I think. Track categories, testing scope, track categories. Let's see. The high. Yeah.
Somebody just need to dump $1 billion on these guys and just do this at scale.
You're right. Yeah. Sorry. AI self-improvement, the ability of an AI system to accelerate AI research, including to increase system to its own capability. This is something that OpenAI is tracking, not necessarily preventing, but tracking, and between high and critical. And they mentioned this as a milestone that AI self-improvement may be beginning to accelerate if they get to some certain point. And they compare this to a mid-career research engineer assistant relative to those researchers' baseline. I think they're talking about more of an agentic thing, or whether or not an AI system fully can take a model and come up with inference zero, whatever it was called. But yeah, I think that self-improvement is absolutely a sign of ASI that's coming up.
It's really limited, seriously. What you see in the paper is very limited to a specific domain, to a specific problem. What they talk about self-improvement in their agenda is probably something like general self-improvement. Like, you apply compute into a black box system, and the system on its own getting better on everything. It's not there. This is not what we're talking about. This is a really good use case, and very, very useful use case as well. If you do this at scale, it's going to create great coding models. So absolutely.
And remove the need for data. Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of coding models, here in Gemini 2.5. The guys never sleep.
Yeah,
These guys
I want to
never
like
sleep.
gently move forward towards kind of the big companies and APIs. We're at 1 hour in, 1 hour and 10 minutes. As always, I say there's not a lot of things to talk about, but then we talk about for many hours. Folks, the Google is not only back, never been backer, and before Google I/O that's happening in May 21st, I believe 22nd, next weekend something, the folks at Google released another Gemini Pro update. They also released the native image generation. We're going to talk about this in a second. Gemini 2.5 Pro preview as even better coding performance. Basically, they released an update to 2.5 Pro, and they call it I/O edition 06, I think 05, 06, something like this. Yeah, 6th of May.
Yeah.
And basically even stronger coding capabilities. And what they boast significantly is this kind of win on top of WebDev Arena. So LM Arena, as you guys remember and know, we talk about LM Arena a lot. We talked about kind of the shortcomings of LM Arena last week. And there was some research from here that talks about maybe they prefer the bigger labs. LM Arena also has a WebDev Arena. WebDev basically are the tasks to do vibe coding, right? Some stuff like this. The way they test that is different. They have like a Chrome extension in VS Code and the people install, and they kind of see 2 generations of code side by side and they choose one. And this is how the WebDev Arena, as opposed to LM Arena itself, where you just go to the website and you just choose, and Nisten, we chatted about kind of the downsides of using that. So WebDev Arena has been basically reflecting what we knew all along. The Claude 3.7 sounded is kind of the top leader in coding, and the Gemini 2.5 Pro was kind of following behind this. And now with this new release, with 147 plus on the ELO score, Gemini 2.5, the new preview, jumped over Claude 3.7 and is the only model that has around 1400 ELO and this WebDev Arena kind of benchmark. They also added significant kind of state of the art video understanding, 84.8 on the video MME benchmark, and the stuff that they're kind of they have to come up with stuff to showcase this, right? Like the model is better than the previous model and some stuff. So they showcase video to code, so you can show it like video of learning app, and then it will generate the code for it. I've used this model a little bit, not a lot. I didn't have like tons of time to kind of code with this, and I did see a few folks saying that there's other evals that it's less good on. But wanted to hear, Nisten, I think you mentioned that you tried it a little bit and you weren't as impressed, correct?
By the way, I say I love vibe coding. I just like pushed like 2 pull requests, and now I just let Cursor do its thing, but post some memes.
Were you using the new Gemini 2.5 Pro, the topic of conversation right now?
I could not use it on. So there's a problem in Cursor with it squishing down the context, and there's also a problem with it being limited to how many lines at once it can read from a single file.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to switch. So even though you have Gemini 2.5 Pro, you only have 128K context in Cursor.
Make your own tools.
Yes,
Make your own tools.
The only way to do it is the only way to use it with full context is you just use a context tool like I use my own. Like I just dump the whole context in it, and then I switch to 2.5 Max or Sonnet 3 Max and just pay for it, and then just dump the whole context in one go. And then that can also read and edit a lot more files. So now I try to switch to Qwen, and Qwen is just a VS Code extension, but it also works with the open source VS Code forks as well. And I added it, and they've done a very nice job accommodating all the different customization, because you can do some very cool stuff. You can use a different planning model and a different execution model. So you can, like, if you have something private to do, you can do that with the execution model, the agent model. And it just didn't vibe, man. I switched to the Gemini API. I added the new Gemini 2.5 Pro, which has been optimized for vibe coding.
Yeah.
This is just my opinion. Look, the model is great. People love it. It has been able to solve problems that others don't have. For me, I just find it way too opinionated about things. And there's still 3. So the new one is 06. The
Yeah,
new
I'm
one is
saying
05,
I don't even
06.
have this. I was about to. I didn't want.
It's not in Cursor, but you can use it in Qwen, and it ends up looking similar to.
I thought that I read from the Cursor team that they posted that this new model is out there, and now that Windsurf is kind of like collaborating with OpenAI more because they bought them, I thought the Cursor is gonna go closer to the Gemini team as well. But I thought I read from the Cursor team that like it's there. Am I mistaken fully?
It might be by default now switch to it, but I've been trying both yesterday, and honestly, Sonnet, nothing beats Sonnet. If you're gonna do something in React or a production app, and it is just way better trained to work on apps.
When you're saying nothing beats Sonnet,
I mean in WebDev.
I know, but design-wise, or
both React code design, state management.
Because I'm saying this because it's fundamentally different if you think about it. Like WebDev, you're building something that you're looking at. So yeah, like CSS and like knowing how to design websites that look good is not the same as writing good code or debugging or so. It's a different problem. Like there is a new, there is another dimension to this problem. So,
So yeah, I was a TypeScript dev for like 6 years before this, and have worked with teams. And the code that the way that Sonnet writes the code, it's like how a very competent dev lead would write, but it also gives you the flexibility of you making your own decisions. Whereas Gemini will still, even the new Gemini, the 06, it still just started going and changing the API calls to a different model, just modifying stuff it had no business in doing. It was wrong about stuff like state management. Like it would say things like, oh, if you're using Redux, you don't need to put everything in state. And they're just completely wrong. The whole point of it is to have a single source of truth. And so like I absolutely hated it because of that, because it was giving me an opinionated approach, which you get from like a very annoying intern who thinks they know everything, but they actually don't. So this is why
we really need to make a stream.
This is just
try them.
Yeah, this is just my opinion. We could probably go for a few hours on the stream.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: at the end of the day, I think the reason that Cursor and Windsurf are doing so well is because they're not really wrappers. They're not necessarily model wrappers. They are model routers. They route very well to different models. You can switch to O3, and O3 can give you a very good plan of what to do. It can give you a review of the business plan that's behind the product. And then you just put that right back into whether you want Gemini or Sonnet or DeepSeek R1.
Yep.
So they're a very good router. And in comparison to Qwen, which there isn't that big of a difference. But for me, I measured it as like, I can vibe code in bed with Cursor, and I only need to once in a while just like hit accept all and just turn on Super Whisper. And then it just goes on for like 15, 20 minutes with the rules. And Qwen just wasn't vibing like that. So there's all these little things that add up to a much more fluid experience. And they are very hard to get unless you have a lot of user interaction data. Because when you look, the first time you do use the Qwen extension, you're like, this is great. This looks fantastic. I don't see how I would do it any different. But then you start using it as like, this is kind of not the same experience for me. And that's what prevents the other tools is this is why Cursor just gets like way more sales at the end of the day. It kind of just...
It's also cheaper, much cheaper. yeah.
So speaking of kind of like getting the vibes of this model, I saw folks post like while it's better at code like and benchmarks like live code bench, Aider Polyglot, Diff and Whole got like 5% increase and 3.3% increase on this new model. There's a bunch of other benchmarks like Vibe from Reka, like I think is multimodal. HLA, Humanities Last Exam, AIME 2025. Like this new model, this even got like a reduced long context understanding. This was posted by, I will not pronounce this name, HC Solakoglu. Somebody just like connected, Hassan connected all of the kind of the previous benchmarks that the Google posted and the new ones. And then there's quite a few folks that are saying that this model, even though despite it was released at better in code, you can't win at everything. So like it's significantly lower in different things like MMU, GPK dominant decreased just a little bit as well, Swebench. And specifically Vibe eval is very interesting because Vibe, I believe Vibe is multimodal for this model. So while kind of they tout the release as like the new coder, I haven't been able to try this in Cursor yet. My windsurf is out until tomorrow. I'm fully like maxed out on my windsurf fully.
What are you building? What are you building?
I vibe coded the. I've coded a few things, not ready to announce yet. But yeah, windsurf is maxed out, and so I'm waiting. But definitely, at least like a new update. I'm pretty sure that they were going to release like a bunch of other ones. So moving on from Gemini, another thing that they released a new image native Flash generation. So super quickly, I want to mention this. I don't think I want to like spend as much time on it as we did, but you guys know that if you go to AI.dev, which is my favorite shortcut to Google AI Studio, AI.dev, and this is how you can like tell people, hey, AI.dev, Flash Gemini 2.0, not 2.5. 2.0 Flash preview image generation. They have a native image generation one that's like, like the GPT-4 one. They have updated this one as well, and now you can like upload images. If you guys remember on the birthday of Thursday, we played with this and put on hats, and this was with this model. They claim that this model significantly improved now. So we can try it out and then ask for some.
They're just training. They're just continuing to train. This is what's going on. Like all the models are training, and they're just shipping more and more checkpoints. I think this is what is happening at the moment. Like like once a month we get like an update for everything. It's probably all still training. Like that's pretty much what is going on.
Yeah.
And
it's bad.
Okay. Yeah, it's not the greatest.
Except for Wolfram.
I just added for like red clown noses for everyone, and you can see like it does like distort the image a little bit, but they've updated this and it was like super fast, 5 seconds.
And you know why I'm looking so grim? Because it's not available in Germany or maybe Europe, but the image generation models, the new ones, they aren't there.
They're not there. Moving on in our big companies and APIs conversation, we should chat about Mistral Medium, folks. Mistral, formerly known as the darlings of open source and formerly known as the backbone of every little fine tune with Mistral 7 and like Mixtral and Mixtral. There's a lot of stuff that Mistral did. Big company out of France and everywhere else. Mistral releases Mistral Medium 3. And by releases, we don't no longer mean open source. And I think that Mistral kind of did a miscalculation here of how much goodwill they're gonna have from the open source community, because they started with like open sourcing like a bunch of stuff and saying we committed to open source, and then the VC money came in as requests, and they started like requiring probably some returns, whatever. So Mistral built like the chat, the enterprise platform. They built a bunch of stuff now, but the thing that we care about the most, which is open source models, or competing against the Chinese models, let's say, in some form of competition, Mistral no longer does. And so Mistral's new model, Medium 3, was announced with no details. No 22 billion parameters, 50 billion parameters. I don't even know like how big this is. It just sits on their platform. And when it does sit on the platform, folks, we're going to compare you to OpenAI, we're going to compare you to Cloud, we're going to compare you to Gemini. It's not going to be like, oh, Mistral, because it's open source, is different stuff. No. No, not anymore. Unless you release open source models, we're not going to do this benefit of the doubt that we used to do. And unfortunately, Mistral did not release this model in open source. So we're going to briefly mention this. They mentioned this as a multimodal frontier model with 128K context, matching or surpassing GPT-4 class benchmarks while being like cheaper. Priced at 0.4, so 40 cents per million inputs and $2 per million outputs. The thing that I immediately noticed, and multiple other things people noticed, is that it's impossible for them to compete with Gemini because Gemini has tons of GPUs. And so in the evaluations thing that they released, they did not even mention Gemini Flash. And Gemini Flash is beating this model pretty much on every benchmark here while being 70% cheaper. And we should call this out. Like when we see evaluation tables, we expect you as a lab for frontier labs to take every other best-in-class model at this point, including Qwen. Yes, including Qwen. Mistral is notoriously ignoring Qwen from existence.
Everyone forget Qwen.
Not everyone. I think that we saw a few benchmarks. I believe that Gemini Flash added.
Yeah.
No.
Mistral adds it sometimes when it's close, but yeah.
When it's obvious to them that they're winning, maybe. But basically, this Mistral Medium that's not open source is comparing to Llama 4 Maverick. Why? Like I really don't understand the choice of kind of this selection. There's no Gemini Flash here. They do add DeepSeek, but they don't add Qwen. And basically,
it actually looks pretty good. Yeah, they should just add the other benchmarks and. Yeah, the sad part is like before we used to download the models and we would mess around with them and we built a whole bunch of things with them. I was also using the LeChat platform a lot more. Like now I almost never use it while they were pushing open source models because I could evaluate it and I was using it for a bunch of stuff for even for paid work. And then I understood that model, and I actually ended up just using the LeChat platform a lot more, just because it was way more convenient than running it yourself. And I knew what it could do, what it couldn't do. Now I have no idea. I go on the platform, I don't even know what it's using. Is it the code model? Is it the large one? Is this the one that runs on the Grok chips that's really fast? Like I have no idea what I'm getting. In there, it's kind of like the same old when people used to say that pirated music users, like users that pirate music, they would also be the ones that bought the most music at the same time. Like they were the biggest buyers of commercial music, either on Beatport or whatever. And it was the users that pirated it the most. And it's not. It's also kind of similar with open source. It's like I end up just using the search on the Qwen the website just because I'm too lazy to actually just fire up an instance and run my own. And that's just because I know how the model works. I use it. It's in other products. I knew where the private data is and where it isn't. So yeah. Anyway, rant is over.
I want to finish your rant with a breaking news interrupt. We have breaking news, folks. AI breaking news.
It's gonna be Google. It's gonna be them.
Coming at you. Only
it is.
How do you know?
It's always Google. Always. It's the Gemini team. They never sleep.
Well, they never sleep. This is just like literally from 2 minutes ago. From the start of Nisten's rant, the breaking news is implicit caching in Gemini APIs was launched, automatically enabling 75% cost savings with the Gemini 2.5 models when your request hits a cache. Folks, this is a significant improvement. So here's what caching basically means. We talked about cost caching a while ago. We actually here on the pod, we requested everybody to like enable caching automatically as well. Google has been enabling explicit caching, so where you have to mention as a developer, hey, this context I want to keep in cache, blah 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 blah. And there was a pain in the ass. Nobody did this. OpenAI came out and said, hey, we have automatic caching. So every time that you upload something with long context, let's say, they also recommend to put the kind of the instructions at the end. Sorry for the hearts. They recommend to put the instructions at the end so that the caching will work. Implicit caching significantly reduces the cost, because like pretty much if you upload 1 million tokens, you get 50 to 75% discount. And we talked about cost caching and how it's done with like KV cache optimizations. We talked about this in the past. The one that Gemini had was always annoying, and now the breaking news is they have added implicit caching as well as explicit, and so all these models, Gemini Flash, which is already beating, like we were just talking about Mistral, Gemini Flash is already beating Mistral by like 70% on cost and performance, will now also have 75% additional cost savings. And the thing is, the caching, context caching is the best when you're using long context windows. And Gemini models are obviously like the 2 million context window models that you can like use for long context purpose tasks. This is big. This is like significantly going to save a bunch of people a lot of money on long context caching. For example, GitHub GG, for example, or some other things that may use long context for different requests. Super cool. So shout out to the Gemini team that never sleeps. Nisten, I saw you smile.
Yeah. I was just about to hop on a quick call, but I really like that they just turn it on by default, because like with Anthropic, you have to go and it's like a weird add-on to the API call to just turn it on. It makes no difference in the quality of the output and stuff that it does. It just saves you money, and it saves them a lot more in inference and stuff usage. So it should just be on by default.
I think that's a great point. That like it saves. Listen, you can hop off on the call. Thank you. I think it's a great point. It saves the labs as well, like a lot of activation time, a lot of like inference as well. So shout out to Gemini team from shipping. And I think those are things. Imagine that Google I/O is in a week and a half. All of those are things that they deem to not wait until Google I/O was shipping. So I'm very excited to see what was going on in Google I/O. Some ultra event.
There are rumors for this.
Ultra event is
There are rumors for this.
All right, folks, we're moving on. Figma.
Alex?
Yeah.
Can we? I would like to add something about Mistral, if you can show the benchmark again, because I have a pretty unique perspective, because Mistral is a European company. So that is probably why they are comparing to Command R, for example, in Llama Memory and DeepSeek, because they often have customers, and I know a lot of customers who are still using the 8x7B that they had, the MOE that came out, because they are moving very slow in Germany and in Europe, putting stuff in production. So Mistral has the advantage that they can offer it via the API, and there are no data GDPR problems if you are inside the Europe, because you can just use OpenAI, or you can just use, especially the Chinese models. Even locally, I know some companies that have a strict rule against that. So that is a market for Mistral where they are uniquely positioned. And Command R, for example, Cohere's model, they offer it for local use. You can get a license, and so they are competing with them for local use with the model. And I think that is a part of why they are doing it like that. And they are pretty uniquely positioned in that way in the European Union. So
that makes sense.
So we can't count them out, even if they can't globally compare anymore. But
I don't want to count them out at all. Wolfram, you're breaking up a little
because
bit.
Miku, remember the Miku that was leaked? That was
Mistral
the
2.
previous medium version.
Yeah, so Miku was great. I remember Miku like came out and
we got a confirmation. Miku is Mistral 2. We got a confirmation this week.
From
So it's probably around 70B, because Miku was 70B, and if this is the direct successor, unless they really change the architecture, it could be a 70B model, or maybe an MOE in that range. Who knows? Yeah. So I hope Mistral. I hope you think of open source as well.
They did mention something that large is coming in open source, so hopefully we'll see some open source from them. Let's chat about Figma just a little bit. I don't think there's a lot. I haven't been able to try this, but Figma basically launched Figma Make, which is a lovable competitor or bold competitor, and Figma Make is. Some folks are confirming that it's awesome. Peter Yang, for example, here's an example of him.
I didn't get the difference. Like, is it like, for Figma specifically, like trained, or focused. Like I didn't get it. Like it's exactly like head-to-head competition with Lovable, or specifically for Figma?
Here's what I think. I think first of all, they probably are doing prompts differently, but also I think the integration within Figma is what's big for many people. Figma has a lot of like, you know, share capabilities, like different things. Publishing, your team pricing is built in, right? So if you already pay for Figma, you will get this kind of like probably default or with an add-on, whereas like Lovable, you have to like get your whole team in there as well. And then even for Lovable, like the teams who do prototypes, they need to copy paste from Figma back and forth. Here's an example of Peter Yang just building a Winamp clone, and I don't know, this to me is crazy. Like the fact that like he can just shove like an image and get like this whole thing. I found it really funny that in the same week, Wolfram, you started with this, and then he continued the Winamp references, just showing how old we are. And Peter Yang will chat with the folks from Figma to the Figma AI very soon. So shout out to Peter Yang. He is very happy with this. Some folks asked him, and he said, like, what's the difference? He said it takes longer to generate some alternatives, but the stuff it makes feels more interactive. Also saying the team collaboration in Figma to prototype parts are the best in class. So that would make sense. Like with every like the top to bottom integration, if you're integrated into the tool, likely you'll have just a better experience. It's why OpenAI and Google now look at in Canvas everywhere. You want to like iterate where the tool is, and Lovable is kind of like outside of the workflow of many designers. I think that and they also have this.
Yeah, there is a different side to it. If it was only this, Lovable would not exist. The reason people use Lovable is because it's capable. It's capable of doing really complex things. So there is absolutely you get a lot from being integrated into a tool and so on. But at the same time, you get a lot from just being good at what you do. So this is why, you know, Lovable and Bolt and so on, they exist because of this.
Yep.
And of course, look, Lovable have their own integration with the database, with Supabase, which sets them apart. Absolutely. But you know, they're just good in what they're doing at the end. So
this is the last thing I wanted to highlight. That first of all, I think the biggest winner of all of this is Supabase. Shout out to Supabase. Great friends. Supabase integration is coming for Figma as well. And that's going to like be very significant because like designers don't want to set up databases for sure. But many of the backend systems, they need something like this. Supabase,
skill issue.
Folks, let's talk about OpenAI restructuring. There's the whole thing where Elon Musk invested $50 million in OpenAI, helping to create it. There's emails that were released with Greg Brockman and Ilya Sutskever and Sam Altman, etc., blah, 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 and Elon saying, hey, we don't want to like, you know, make this a closed company. There's a whole thing where, you know, Elon Musk created XAI to compete with the duopoly of Google and OpenAI and then ramp it up super quick, but is now also not open. Where's Grok 2? Like, we've been waiting for Grok 2 for a long while. We haven't seen any open source in Grok 2. At this point, I don't even see why it would matter. Like, it would release, it would be like significantly less. But basically, there's a whole thing about, hey, OpenAI is not open. OpenAI since then is becoming more open and talking about like the integrating with the open source community, is about to release an open source model. I think they feel the heat from, you know, the US government, where like the Chinese models are taking over and there's no competitor, you know, anywhere. Llama, unfortunately, did not, you know, Llama 4 did not significantly impress the open source community with the bigger releases and kind of the shenanigans in ML Arena. And the other major point against OpenAI, while they're moving back to open, is that the governance structure, the very interesting governance structure that OpenAI had with a nonprofit controlling the kind of for-profit company, the LLC, they wanted to move away from the structure, or at least they said they're thinking about how to integrate like the structure in the world, right? That's how OpenAI sees this from Elon's and Musk's kind of like lawsuit against them, is that it's uncommon that an open company, nonprofit company turns into a for-profit company as well. Obviously, I don't remember all the details, but OpenAI's stance is in order to get to that level of competition, they need profits to be able to then turn into research. And so we have an update this week from OpenAI that they basically said 4 facts about our structure. OpenAI will continue to be controlled by the current nonprofit organization. Nothing changes there. Existing for-profit will become a public benefit corporation. Nonprofit will control and be significant owner of the PBC, and nonprofit and PBC will continue to have the same mission. Basically, what they mean is, hey, the whole for-profit taking over nonprofit non-existing is like that people kind of attributed to them is not happening. So that's great. Thoughts on this shift, folks?
Yeah.
Why would we care? Like,
All right, LDJ, go. Let's take the thought on why do we care, LDJ?
Yeah, so just for a little bit of clarification, so the timeline is OpenAI was founded around like 2015, 2016 as a nonprofit originally. Then around 2019, they created a capped profit company, which is an LLC, that's technically now like the main OpenAI organization actually doing all the research and products and everything. And so now fast forward to now, they're turning that LLC into a public benefit corporation, which this was actually the plan for a while. If you look back at even some of their official statements back around 6 months ago in December, they talked about wanting to make it a public benefit corporation. And for the people like actually like the lawyers involved, and I think maybe Elon's lawsuit and things, what they were really after is not so much the problem with turning that into a public benefit corporation, but whether the public benefit corporation would now no longer be controlled by the board of the nonprofit, or whether the nonprofit will no longer have shares in the main company, right? And so I think that was the main worry for a lot of people on the actual technical side of things, and it seems like the nonprofit is indeed still controlling that public benefit corporation.
Yep.
And so it seems like on all sides, like like a win-win is how I see this. And public benefit corporation just makes the main company also now basically legally liable to the same nonprofit mission instead of just investor interests.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think specifically because we chatted last week and a week before this with the glazing incident where we just and Sam Altman today in Senate testimony as well talked about this kind of new-ish concern that many people come to these models that are controlled by this company for life advice. And then we saw the downside of this in like the glazing incident where like ChatGPT will tell you basically everything you would want to hear, even if it's like self-harmful, for example. There's a whole concern now that these models are like significant effect of people's lives. And I think a nonprofit that's committed to public good is significantly better than a standard Silicon Valley profit-seeking, return-seeking company. I think it's like generally a good thing. Moving on, because I thought that we have a very chill time. Yeah, go ahead, then, Wolfram. Just a quick one.
Just wanted to add, I agree with you. And public benefit company sounds very nice, but they also have the OpenAI name. So I hope they are true to the name and really public benefit. So I hope they do what they are claiming to do.
Yep.
They're going to release a model, leave them alone. It's going to happen. They're going to release
a model very soon. We're waiting. Folks, we're moving on. We're going to skip the purchase of Cursor and Windsurf because we have to we have to talk about the video stuff. But super quick before this, on this week's buzz, as I said before, the hackathon that I invited all of you to July, we are postponing that to July. So the hackathon that was supposed to happen in a couple of weeks, postponing this to July. The A2A and MCP hackathon, it will happen July 12th and 13th. I'll let you know soon and invite you as well. Fully connected, weights and biases, full 2-day conference. 2 days of programming. We have great speakers there. We have Joe Spizak from the Llama team. We have other folks. I believe we have Varun from Windsurf as well as a main speaker there. Super dope conference. I got you guys a promo code. If you're in San Francisco, definitely come vibe with us and talk with everybody. CoreWeave folks will be there as well. WB thursdai. This is to throw you off. There's no D in here. WB thursdai will get you a full 100% off the ticket. This is a benefit only for the Thursday listeners, so don't skip it and come to the Fully Connected. FullyConnected.com is where you register. I'm very, very looking forward for this conference. Fortunately, not going to be there myself in person. But this has been this week's buzz. And the last thing that I will say for folks who just joined in the middle, Weights and Biases and CoreWeave have completed the acquisition. CoreWeave, the ultra fast growing cloud provider for GPUs, NeoCloud or whatever, is now the owner of Weights and Biases. So shout out to the whole CoreWeave team for being very welcoming for us as well.
Can you tell us, maybe plans, like how it's going, like Weights and Biases are going to stay isolated as Weights and Biases, or going to be integrated into the cloud? Because there are questions. Weights and Biases is a huge product
Yeah.
at the end. So.
I don't have the ability to comment publicly or any product roadmap, and CoreWeave now is a public company, so even more restrictions. So as I learn to navigate the throes of public company communication, I will just say that I will absolutely be able to kind of repeat official communication. From the official communication, Weights and Biases is not going anywhere as a product. If anything, it will just be more useful. It will not be locked into any kind of offering. Like there's no point in this. Like Weights and Biases is supposed to run whatever you run your models. So definitely we'll keep supporting and building. This is why CoreWeave kind of publicly stated that they purchased Weights and Biases to build developer tooling as well alongside the GPU offerings. Folks, I want to move on to vision and video. I think we have a little bit of like 20 minutes left, and I think where's my highlight here? I will just barely briefly talk about the Lightrix new LTX V model, and then we're gonna move on to HeyGen, maybe generate something super quick. And also, as a reminder, I have a coupon code for you for HeyGen. This is LTX Studio. LTX Lightrix, the company that does multiple things, I guess. At this point, they released an LTX upgrade model. And you can see this model is downloaded a lot, like almost 200,000 downloads for a video model. That's great. They released a new model upgrade, LTX 13 billion parameter. Requires way more VRAM, but it's high quality model as well. They have the thing that I love is keyframes and character movement support and multi-shot support as well. And multi-keyframe conditioning. So basically, whereas we kind of chatted about models before, you can provide the first keyframe and it goes away from there. Sora notoriously had multi-keyframe conditioning. This open source model, fully open source, I believe it's either Apache 2 or very permissive license, allows for conditioning as well. That's super cool. Let's maybe show a quick demo of this LTX V, and then we'll move on. Let me see if I can find LTX here.
What are even the benchmarks for video at the moment? Like let's say that you want to say that if this model is the best thing for its size, like, is this what we're getting here? Help me out and understand.
We actually talked about this last week, Wolfram, remember? And then I tagged you because Google released something that uses video understanding to see whether or not the model kind of follows. So Google released, I don't remember off the top of my head a benchmark, but Google released a benchmark that kind of like does evaluation whether or not it follows the prompt as well. It's a difficult problem, because there's multiple things in which like these models can happen, like following the prompts is one, multi-camera angles, for example, features. So I think that like we're comparing them on like speed as well. So they're comparing themselves like 30x faster than like standard models. We're comparing them on cost, obviously, how long and how cheap is to generate, open sourceness, whether or not you're able to do whatever you want. LoRa, for example, this model supports LoRa conditioning, so you can like train your specific either styles. They have an example of a style here. Let's see, customize LoRa's, for example, where you can customize this like slime falling. Oh, I'm not showing. Hold on. Where you can customize You can customize this LoRa of like a slime, and then you can apply this to everything. Multi-shot conditioning. So we're basically doing features. Yeah, it's hard. Quality-wise, it's really hard. I think there's a few folks who are able to understand quality-wise. LTX is in the open source, is up there. Not the state of the art. I believe the Hunyuan is state of the art. Speaking of Hunyuan Custom is the next thing that I want to show you. It's coming out tonight. Haven't yet came out, but tonight it's coming out. Hunyuan Custom will allow a multimodal consistent video generation based on subject, which is, I think, one of the more important things.
That's huge.
Yeah,
wow.
We just talked about consistent character generation from Runway, and Runway added something like this, and this is now going to be in open source. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and you can see that in this video, this dude with the brown shirt plays with like Lay's chips, and a man presenting the chips in his hand beside the swimming pool, and literally the video has both him and holding the chips.
And look at the text. Look at the text on the chips.
Yeah, this looks ridiculous.
Fine.
I wish I could zoom in. Let me see if I can
really
zoom in. The thing that I wanted to talk about is that they claim they're gonna only release the first image conditioning, so like we'll be able to maybe with 1 or 2 images to condition something. But I think it's gonna be like insane. But I think what they have here as a highlight on top of the Hunyuan video is that they also have conditioning for audio, and the audio conditioning is also, I don't know why this doesn't, let me see if this doesn't play.
Man, if you take this and do it larger, it's insane. Like you can generate full videos with this.
We're getting to
whatever you want. Like, wow.
For some reason, I think they maybe didn't upload all the videos. The multi-subject video customization doesn't work, but you'd be able to provide like video as well, and then audio-driven video customization. They haven't yet released this, but basically, avatar-driven things are gonna look like this. I don't have audio for you guys, but I'm gonna
exactly this use case, exactly this. Like you take a single picture, and like you can generate this person talking whatever you want. It's crazy. Like, really, it's crazy. Like,
so here's the next crazy part. They also promise, and they're not about to release this yet, video driven. So like if you look at this video, you can see like there's like a bear here, and then you do a reference image of something else, and then you get the same video with another like doll.
How do you even train this? How do you even, what's the data for this? Like, how do you even get data for this? Like,
I think from now on, Thursday is going to be, I'm getting excited by saying like, how do you even train this? But look at another picture. There's the reference image of a hat with the Mickey Mouse like hands on it. We have the magician here, right? The magician doing a magician trick. And then the end result is this. This is pretty cool. And those are fairly small models, going to be in open source. Runway kind of can do this, but this is coming very soon. Hunyuan Custom.
I get where they got the videos. I understand now. I have an idea. Yeah.
They have a lot of data there, but I think the cool thing is the specifically custom video generation with no LoRa. So there's no like LoRa training on this, and looks very, very, very good. And hopefully this will release very soon. GitHub is still not up. I think Hugging Face was up for a second, and then they took it down. So
it's pretty much a new thing here that it is without LoRa's, because I've seen LoRa's being used to alter film clips of movies, like Terminator, where you replace a character stuff. So I've seen videos like that. They did that, but you had to do training and stuff, and now just a photo and the prompt, and you go. That is amazing, yeah.
The cool thing about this, and I want to speed up because I do want to show you the avatar things, is that this has a lava head built in to kind of understand what the subject is, and then kind of like somehow during the generation also to understand whether or not this image is encoded in the video. ID enhanced video latents, and then they have masking on the video. They're very interesting. Yeah, there's a report they released. If you want to read, it's going to be included. I'm going to send this to you as well. Moving on though, because this is a video model. Here's the thing that I started to realize. It's very interesting. Kind of the industry kind of bifurcates into, we want to generate something. That something could be character led, and we want consistency. One way of doing this is something like this: a video generator that has some sort of consistency with some sort of like non-zero shot example. So let's say we take a picture of one person provided as a keyframe or a reference, etc., and the video generation generates something. We also have lip sync. Lip sync basically takes lip sync is great for translation. We take a video of me talking, and then no habla español. We will translate myself to Spanish, and then we just move the lips. So like all of the movements, the hands and everything, those are real Alex movements and hands, and we just like lip modulate so like Alex in Spanish will speak. So that's great for that. There's a whole other area of AI avatars that we love. We absolutely love Wolfram. We've been chatting about like multiple of them, Omni-Human, like Hello 3. We've been covering this field for a long time. We've been very excited. I think we had a few folks who actually trained them as well. And this week, an absolute just like breakthrough in like all of this just happened. I really want to show you what this looks like, and even like make sure that you guys hear. So let me see. Let me make sure that I'm sharing my my tab with. I believe it's this one. Yeah. I'm sharing my tab with the. I'm not gonna be logged in there. There's gonna be a problem. I'm just gonna show you the video itself. I created this video with the new Avatar V4 from HeyGen. HeyGen has been around for a while, and then they gave me access, and I'm gonna give you access month free. I just absolutely have been blown away by this. When you play this video with no mute, with mute, this looks
RIP the internet. RIP to the
this
internet.
looks like I recorded it.
RIP the entire
And the hands
internet.
movement and everything. But like if you look at the lips here, holy shit. Folks, this is not me. This is an AI you guys can hear this. Hold on 1 second. AI. You should be able to hear this now. So again, let me full screen this. Holy shit. Folks, this is not me. This is an AI generated AI avatar. This is from HeyGen. This is their new Avatar V4. I uploaded one image. This is my actual voice, not an AI voice yet. And this is what we get. Look at this. Look, here's some lips movement for you. What do you think? I think it's super cool. It works with dogs, anime characters, singing people, side profiles. The lip sync is really good. Check it out.
How much of this did you edit yourself, and how much is like from the platform as a whole?
The underlying video is a platform.
There is post-processing here for sure. Like apart from the AI, there is post-processing. Like
yeah, I added subtitles, and then I added like the zoom, and then I generated another dog thing. So I like had to like use the same audio and put the dog on top. I find it really funny that the dog has the mullet that I kind of have. This is thanks to Sora, and that also generated kind of this character, like the you know anime character. But basically, the whole video is a straight output from. Let me see. This is a straight output from this with a different voice.
This new avatar creation thing.
So this is kind of the meta is using this AI avatar with a Julio like voice. This doesn't sound like me necessarily. So the previous one was just me recording.
Hold up. Holy shit.
It looks different.
This new avatar creation thing is wild. HeyGen stepped into the avatar creation game with Image 2 Avatar. Their new Avatar V4 seems to not only work on human avatars,
it's kind of like me, but it doesn't sound like me fully.
Anime characters.
It looks different.
Then this one?
Yeah, look at the face. It's a little bit different.
It's a little bit different, but here's the comparison, right? So this is Hedra Labs. We chatted about Hedra Labs before. Hedra changes the face significantly. Folks, you can actually see kind of artifacts in AI generation. The thing that I loved about HeyGen is that the image that I provided just kind of looks like it looks the same in the start and the end. Like it looks here the same as here, whereas kind of in Hedra, which I love Hedra still, they changed the face and it looks. Like you can see the artifacts in my beard and everything. You can see. And also, if you guys remember Omni-Human, we got super excited about Omni-Human. You guys remember the Albert Einstein examples that we had? We had like the girl with the dress that like all of the lights there. Those models are like world models basically. They generate all the things. The hands that you saw me do have not been provided to this model. The image that I provided didn't have any hands.
The chair is moving. Also, look.
The chair is moving. So Omni-Human, this is Omni-Human. But if you look, Omni-Human gives this like almost a unrealistic kind of filter on top of myself. Holy shit.
Looks rendered.
it looks rendered. And the hand is kind of like looks rendered. The hand movement like looks decent, but like this progressively looks more and more like a filter. And like you can see this in my beard, for example. You can see like the exaggerated features.
Look, it's not realistic.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
this one
good,
is
but
just
not
absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
What you should try an image where you're farther away from the camera, so there's a lot of background to see how it works.
A few folks tried it. It's kind of like still limited. So this exact format that I did, I think works the best. They've trained it on like close format video. They talked about like full body movement still doesn't like do justice. But hey, folks, I promised you a code. So let me go and look at this code. Because
by the way, the hands are amazing. They are really, really good. But the comic character didn't have hands movement. That is interesting.
The which one?
Where you had the comic and the dog.
So the dog didn't have hands.
But the comic character had hands, but they were
the dog
not
has
animated.
hands. Look, they're not
he
moving.
has.
What do you use to edit this, like Alex? Like
CapCut.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, well, you're right. Look, the anime character has a hand, but it doesn't move. The dog has a hand, doesn't move. My hands move very nicely. Like it kind of looks like exactly like I'm talking. So maybe they've trained on my videos. I don't know. But the thing that I wanted to tell you is that I have a promo code for you. So like with thursdai, I think the thursdai is the code. Give me 1 second. I really want you to go and try this for free. I think it's available for free anyway, but I asked the folks to provide the thursdai listeners with a code so you'd be able to go upload one image and just go and try this ridiculous thing. The thing that we do on thursdai is a lot of it is excitement, to tell you about the excitement thing. So you go and try this. I'm super stoked by this. You can generate one image in Google and then just go and do it. Our code is going to be where's my code? Oh yeah, thursdai4. So I'm gonna put this here in the banner for you guys. Use HeyGen Avatar 4 code thursdai4, not thursdai, thursdai4. This. I'm gonna have this here. Please, if you're with us, if you're listening to us, it's just the word Thursday and then the letter 4 at the end. You'll get a month free on the tier. You'll be able to generate as many avatars as you want. Post them. Make sure to mention thursdai in the post because I want to see what you guys do. This is absolutely ridiculous. You can record your own voice. You can take other voices. I saw a few very interesting. HeyGen didn't pay me for this. I'm not getting anything from the sharing this code with you. I just like asked them to let you guys play with this a little bit. So I'll add this to the show notes as well. This was
by the way, I've been a customer of HeyGen before, and we created some videos for the company where I was working. And I evaluated multiple of those systems, and HeyGen was the one we chose as well. So they have a lot of stuff there, and it's affordable because you can generate an unlimited number of model videos with just smaller paid.
So I think the highlight there, Wolfram, is that previously you had to train like an avatar. You had to upload a bunch of videos and they would kind of train on this, basically create like a LoRa on their video model. This is a one shot, one image thing, which is absolutely ridiculous to me. One shot, one image.
I was waiting for this.
Yeah, lip sync is perfect. Lip sync is absolutely perfect. I haven't seen lip sync as perfect for a model that's not lip sync generated like specifically. So folks, give it a try. It's Avatar V4. I think the last
it's only 30 seconds, unfortunately, for now.
Yeah,
because you can generate longer models with the older stuff, but the new one is only 30 seconds. So I hope they will prolong that and give some customization, like some emotes, and the model is doing it. That would be cool.
Yeah, we'll keep in touch with them. Maybe we'll bring them to chat about this. The last two things, folks, were 2 hours. The last two things that we didn't get to cover is A-Step. It's a 3.5 billion parameter open source foundation model for music generation. It's kind of cool. You can play music like fully from StepFun. And then the other one is the Parakeet Nvidia transcription that transcribes 60 minutes of audio in just 1 second on like production GPUs, and it works very, very well locally as well. So those are the two things we didn't get to talk about. We also barely touched the acquisition, Windsurf, and OpenAI, and then there's a whole thing where Yam and Nisten want to go on a live stream. So follow them for that live stream of coding and comparing these models. I absolutely agree to this, and wish when I can join, I will definitely join as well. I think this is it, folks. We did a very, very easy week. We still talked for 2 hours. We still covered a bunch of stuff, and I really appreciate every time that we do this. Thank you, Yam and Wolfram, LDJ, Nisten was here a little bit before. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. We have over 1,200 folks from all over the internet coming and watching this live streams. I'm pretty sure that next week is going to be crazy. Next week after that is going to be absolutely crazy because both Microsoft Build and Google I/O is happening kind of the same weekend as well, or week as well. So definitely next week we're hoping for another chill one, and then it's going to be an insane ultra event, as some said. With that said, again, to just highlight, if you're joining any part of the show and if you missed any part of the show is available on thursdai.news as every day. I work really hard to get it on Thursday for you guys with the links to the show notes, with the very interesting things we mentioned, with breakdown of every other thing. Also this week there's a few codes, WB thursdai for the fully connected, and the Thursday for HeyGen as well. So definitely worth subscribing to the newsletter for that. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you all our listeners for tuning in from week to week. Share with their friends. Tell people about the show. We stay up to date so you don't have to. This week it's a little easier than previous weeks, but still there's a lot of stuff to talk about. And we look forward to covering this again with you next week. Cheers everyone. Bye-bye. Have a great rest of your week.